No. One of my great regrets.
We're good?
We're good? Okay. Good afternoon. I'm going to ask everyone to please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Joe.
Doreen was supposed to print it out.
I have one here, I believe. We'll call this meeting to order.
We'll be done before you're done printing.
Motion for the reading and approval of the minutes of the last meeting? Motion.
Second.
The question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Opportunity for the public to address the board agenda items only.
Joan Lackawanna at Scranton. I saw in the paper this morning that you have proposed certain amendments to the proposed budget. And I assume that you'll be posting the current edition on the county website sometime this week? Because the one on it now is October 16th. I know.
The answer to that is, John, we'll have it posted.
Good, good. And I
posted.
also saw that you're going to have a meeting on November 30th for the vote. Is it going to be here in this room?
Yes.
Do you know what, does anybody know what time it'll be scheduled?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock, okay, thank you very much. Since I haven't seen the changes in the budget, I'm going to basically just make some broad comments. And one of them is, well, first of all, I'm surprised that I'm the only one from the public to be here. I think you'll get a lot of people that'll be coming once they get their tax bill, but that's a different story. That's their problem. Hey, that's true. That's true, you know? I mean, that's going to be a day late and a dollar short. I'm surprised, a little disappointed, that I don't see your two commissioners-elect here. They should be here if only to sit and listen, because I expect them to hit the ground running on the day they take the oath in January. And I would also hope that if possible, as you thresh out the changes you're going to be making and finalize this budget for next year, that you do invite them to at least sit in and listen. I know Billy Gahn is very familiar with Mr. Bolzoni when Mr. Bolzoni was the BA for Scranton. So he's familiar with Mr. Bolzoni's grasp of all things financial. And they should take every opportunity to pick that man's brain. And I will also say this, shame on you and the new Board of Commissioners if you don't keep that man. Because I don't know anyone more qualified to help you go through difficult fiscal times. Not unless you can get Tom Durkin to come back, but I don't think he will.
That's one of the problems, Joe, getting people to be here.
But I mean, once you run and you're elected and everything, and you're waiting for your swearing-in date, that's a prime time to start getting yourself right on to the current pressing issues. And I hope that both sides will make every effort to have a smooth and profitable transition, because incoming or outgoing, you all have a fiduciary responsibility to the residents of the county. And I hope I see Mr. McGloin and Mr. Gahn here on November 30th. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to point out that getting accolades from Joan is a big deal, Dave. So I agree wholeheartedly.
Yep.
But good for you.
And we've been in contact with them, and they're invited to come to everything that we do, and we've been as open as we possibly can, and we're trying to do this as responsibly as we can.
All you can do is make the offer.
Pardon me?
Yeah, you can make the offer, but you can lead a horse to water, but you can't.
Okay, you said it.
I'll be here the first day in January to see what they know.
The second,
But the second.
January 2nd. Not that I'm counting down or anything, but it's January 2nd.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else from the public? Okay, ordinance, first reading 230302.
Yes, all three of the ordinances today are going to be read into the record and voted upon or voted down on the November 30th. This is the annual budget for the County of Lackawanna for the year of 2024, an ordinance of the County of Lackawanna and the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania fixing the tax rate and enacting the budget for the year 2024 and appropriate specific sums estimated to be required for the specific purposes of the county hereinafter set forth during the current fiscal year. Be it ordained and enacted. And it is hereby resolved and enacted by the Board of Commissioners of the County of Lackawanna, Pennsylvania, in Section 1 of the Tax B, and the same is hereby levied on all property within the said county subject to taxation for county purposes for the fiscal year 2024 as follows. The tax rate for general county purposes, the sum of 49.36 mils on each dollar assessed evaluation, or the sum of 493.5 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation. For the debt purposes, the sum is of 0.24 mils on each dollar of assessed valuation, or the sum of 142 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation for the purposes of the county library system. The sum of 3.07 mils on each dollar of assessed valuation, or the sum of 30.70 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation for the purposes of the Cultural and Education Fund, the sum of 1.0 mils, or the sum of 10.0 cents on each $100 of assessed valuation. Total millage for all purposes is the sum of 67.66 mils. Section 2, all prior ordinances and resolutions of parts therefore inconsistent herewith are repealed. First reading of ordinance number 289, authorizing the issuance of a tax and revenue anticipation note series of 2024 in the principal amount of $15 million, whereas the County of Lackawanna, Pennsylvania anticipates receiving taxes and other revenues during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024, which taxes and other revenues are currently uncollected. And whereas the county has determined to borrow monies for the purpose of funding, in part, such cumulative cash flow deficit by issuing a note to be repaid from the anticipated tax and revenues, all in accordance with the Local Government Unit Debt Act. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Commissioners, for the reasons and purposes recited above, the county hereby exercises its power and authority to borrow money and authorizes the issuance of sale of its tax and revenue anticipation note series 2024 in the principal amount of $15 million in anticipation of the receipt of current taxes and revenues during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2024. The note, when issued, will be a general obligation of the county. The note shall, upon issuance thereof, be equally and ratably secured by the pledge of security interest in and a lien and charge on the taxes and other revenues to be received by the county during the period when the note is outstanding. The chairman or any other commissioner of the board, the chief of staff, or the assistant chief of staff of the county, and all other proper officers of the county are hereby authorized jointly and severally to do any and all other things necessary to effectuate the issuance, execution, delivery, and the sale of the note. This ordinance shall become effective immediately upon approval. Ordinance 290, an ordinance of the County of Lackawanna, Pennsylvania, adopting the Lackawanna County Reassessment Relief Initiative, whereas Lackawanna County imposes an annual real estate tax on the assessed value of real property located within the county. Whereas on May 18th, 2022, the Lackawanna County Board of Commissioners approved a countywide revision of assessment to reassess the property values of all real property located in Lackawanna County. Whereas on January 1st, 2026, the new assessed values for use in all real property taxation in Lackawanna County shall be implemented, and the purpose of the reassessment tax initiative is to allow eligible residents to be relieved from any immediate financial burden caused by the increase of their county real estate taxes only for following reassessment. Now therefore be enacted and ordained by the Board of the Commissioners of Lackawanna County, Pennsylvania as follows. Section 1, Reassessment Relief Initiative. The Reassessment Relief Initiative will be available to eligible residents commencing the year that the tax bills are issued reflecting the newly reassessed property values. The Reassessment Relief Initiative program will set effective January 1st of the year immediately preceding the year that the tax bills are initially issued, reflecting the newly reassessed property values. The Reassessment Relief Initiative is a program offered to eligible residents of Lackawanna County who have experienced a net increase of not less than 20% in the county real estate tax following reassessment. The Reassessment Relief Initiative applies to the increased portion of the county taxes only as a result of reassessment and does not apply to increased property taxes due and owing to any other taxing district. Lackawanna County Office of Assessment and Appeals, in conjunction with NeighborWorks, Northeastern Pennsylvania, may grant an application for reassessment relief initiative. Applicants must apply for relief under the reassessment relief initiative on or before April 1st of the year the tax bills are issued reflecting the newly reassessed property values. To be eligible for reassessment relief initiative, the following eligibility requirements must be met. Only deeded owners may apply for relief. All deeded owners must be applicants listed on the application and sign the same. The property shall exclusively be the primary single-family residential dwelling of the deeded owners. The property shall be owner-occupied. Occupants permitted besides the applicants are members of the applicant's family. Any use of the property in whole or in part for business or rent will make the property ineligible for relief. The applicants shall not own any other residential or commercial properties located in Lackawanna County. The single-family owner-occupied residential property for which relief is sought must be the one and only resident of the applicants. Total gross annual house income for a single deeded owner and all adults occupying the residence for which relief is sought shall not exceed $35,000. Total gross annual household income for the joint or multi-deeded owners and all adults occupying the residence for which this relief is sought shall not exceed $45,000. There shall be no real estate tax delinquencies owed by the applicants at the time of their application. The property shall be insured, and there shall be at least 20% net tax increase in the amount of the Lackawanna County real estate tax owed on the property owned by the applicants following the reassessment. Applicants must submit the following documentation as part of their application. A copy of the current deed for the property owners by the applicants, a copy of the mortgage for the property, a certificate of the homeowner's insurance or current homeowner's insurance declaration page, a copy of the valid driver's license, state identification card, real ID, passport, or birth certificate for every adult residing in the property. A copy of the deeded owner's most current federal tax return, if one was filed, Pennsylvania income tax return, if one was filed, as well as any Social Security verification letter, Social Security retirement, Social Security disability, supplemental Social Security income, state supplementary program, payment, pension, income statement, and or other proof of the income. If an applicant's deceased spouse is listed on the deed of the property, a copy of the deceased spouse's certificate of death, and if applicants have or has a last will and testament, a copy of that document also. Once approved, the reassessment and relief initiative, the following terms will apply. No penalties and or interest will be assessed on the increased amount of the county taxes until January 31st, 2028. If the tax amount for which relief was granted under this program is not paid in full on or before January 31st, 2028, penalties and interest will be charged commencing on February 1st, 2028. The interest paid per annum for each calendar year shall be the rate established by subsection 306 of the real estate tax sales law, which is currently set at 9% per annum. The 10% penalty will also be reinstated. If the tax amount for which relief was granted under this program and it is not paid in full on or before July 1st, 2028, the property may be subject for sale in accordance with the real estate tax sale law. Applicants are not relieved from their obligation to pay the amount of county taxes due or owing, which is not affected by participation in this program. In an effort to work towards long-term financial stability for applicants, participants in the reassessment relief initiative will have access to free financial counseling from NeighborWorks Northeastern Pennsylvania throughout the term of the program for which the applicants are eligible. Section 2, this ordinance shall not apply to real estate taxes other than those assessed by Lackawanna County, and more particularly only applies to the difference between the pre-reassessment and the post-reassessment county real estate tax liability due on an eligible property that is equal to or greater than 20% of the pre-assessment tax liability due on the property. Section 3, if any action, cause, provision, or portion of this ordinance shall be held invalid or unconstitutional by a court of competent jurisdiction, such decision shall not affect any other section, clause, provision, or portion of this ordinance so long as it remains legally enforceable minus the invalid portion. The county reserves the right to amend this ordinance or any portion therefore from time to time as it shall deem advisable. in the best interest of the promotion of for the purposes and intent of this ordinance and the effective administration thereof. Section 4, the effective date, this ordinance shall take effect 10 days following its enactment. That concludes the first reading of all three of those ordinances, Mr. Chairman.
All three.
Yep.
Thank you. All right, opportunity for the public to address the board. If there's other business.
Dave have anything to say?
Dave, you want to speak on this right now, or you want to wait till the next meeting?
Well, I thought maybe I'd make a few comments relative to both the first and the second ordinance. And I will add, just relative to Joan's comments, no one would like it better if Tom Durkin returned than me, but we'll leave that go.
And I
will say-
completely missed what you just said. Nobody would like what?
Tom, they're going to come back.
Than me. But I will say that, Commissioners, you're presented with the 2024 budget for approval. The operating budget as constructed totals $165,314,525 in revenues and $164,499,454 in expenditures. The budget includes an increase of 3.75 mils delineated as follows. General fund millage will increase from 46.56 to 49.36, or 2.8 mils. Debt service millage will increase from 13.54 to 14.24, or 0.7 mil. And the library fund millage increases from 2.82 to 3.07 mils, or 0.25 mil. While the budget achieves approximate balance, it does not do so without significant inclusion of one-time revenues. These revenues are identified further in your handouts as follows: an American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, allocation of $3 million, a healthcare surplus payment in the amount of $2.3 million, a component of the proposed debt service restructuring in the amount of $5.5 million, and following the adjustment of 262 budget line items, an organic savings of $1.2 million. That number would have been higher if not for the $2 million increase in healthcare cost that we're going to have to absorb in 2024. While I'd like to state that the budget addresses a number of the structural issues that were identified by the rating agency Standard & Poor's in their review, which resulted in, as you're aware, the downgrade of the county debt rating, it doesn't. It does, though, include the millage increase, which was recommended. It also includes an additional contribution to the pension fund, which is included in the budget. Both of those factors were highlighted by the rating agency in their review. It doesn't fully fund the pension. It doesn't eliminate the use of one-time revenue sources. It doesn't really fully address the structural deficit. Its approval is a first step, though, and I would recommend the commissioners consider it. Relative to the handouts, I prepared a more detailed review of the budget adjustments, as well as what I'll call more of a PowerPoint presentation that is a more understandable version of some of the changes that were included in the adjustments that we had made to the budget in order to get to what was submitted today. Relative to the tax and revenue anticipation note, the county is again seeking a tax and revenue anticipation note proposal in the amount of $15 million. The 2023 TRAN was issued with an interest rate of 3.5%, and the county repaid it by mid-year. I'm expecting the same favorable terms for the 2024 TRAN. A cautionary note, though. I expect the amount of the TRAN to approximate the dollar amount of payables that we're going to carry over into 2024 due to cash flow issues. This circumstance is really the hallmark of the structural issues regarding our budget that, and I'll go back to some of the information in the rating review that I think are important to note. And that's really all I have to add at this point.
Before you go, expand on the fact that you cut over $3 million from 262. line items, and the reason it was reduced was, tell the public the reason why.
I'll add that we adjusted 262 line items in the budget. If you look at the more detailed handout they provided, it lists all of those adjustments that were greater than $100,000, and there were a number of them. But there were adjustments that we had made that were as low as $500. We went through the budget very thoroughly. We would have come up with an adjustment or a savings of about $3.2 million, but the increase in healthcare costs was added after the fact, and our healthcare costs are going up by 8.1% in 2024, which equates to about $2 million. So unfortunately, that took about 2/3 of the savings that we were able to derive just in a review of the budget, going through the budget on a department by department and line item by line item basis. So I think it should be noted that Mary Jo Granahan had really done an excellent job in putting this together, and the two of us had gone through the budget in quite a bit of detail. I am. Thank you.
Thank you. I should probably just speak on the reassessment relief, just so maybe it'll avoid Boris having to call me later. Probably not, though, Boris. You always think of a new question. But initially, what I wanted to do was, if you guys remember, it was in the nature of a lien. So you had to meet certain criteria, eligibility requirements, such as income and other requirements, and the amount that your county taxes went up after reassessment had to be at least 20%. So we were going to use the lien process so that people could have an opportunity to breathe and just take that amount, just the amount that increased in the county taxes as a result of reassessment, and put it as a lien against their home. The problem is there were costs. I think it's like $56 for the lien, $10 to satisfy the lien. If you had them do it twice, so it would be $112 for the liens and then another $20 for the satisfaction. But then on top of it, we would have to have our tax claim bureau, specifically our solicitor, draft the documentation necessary to assert those liens. So it was kind of counterproductive to what I was trying to do. I'm trying to give these people breathing room, but at the same time, you have to come up with $56. So I talked to Joe Joyce, who's a wealth of information and an asset to this county, frankly, and we came up with a different idea, which is this deferment process. And it will give people, if they apply on April 1st of 2026, it gives them basically until January 31st of 2028. So if somebody's county taxes go up more than 20%, say it's $600, that $600, they have to pay the rest of what they owe, their regular taxes, but that $600 can be deferred for that time period, which is a long time period. I wanted to do it for 2 years, 2026 and 2027, but then I thought, okay, so what do I do? Do I say, okay, you can apply again in 2027 by April 1st, but keep the deadlines the same? Or do we push the deadlines back a year that we had for 2026? If that sounds complicated, it is. And Joe Joyce explained to me that monitoring it from the Tax Claim Bureau perspective would be very difficult. And then if they defaulted on the first amount from 2026, how do we deal with the second from 2027? So there was really nothing else I could have done. I really picked many brains and I scoured many. I did a lot of research. This is the best we could come up with. Now, he did point out a very important point, is that in 2026, if somebody gets their tax bill and it is, Jerry doesn't think that this is going to happen, and I hope he's right. But in the event that he's wrong, and their tax bill goes up, their county tax bill goes up, say $600. Even if it goes up $200, some people live penny to penny. So it'll give them an opportunity to breathe and figure out, okay, what do we need to do to try to pay this next year. It'll give them the rest of the year before the new tax bills come out. But also, Joe Joyce reminded me of the fact that during that period, they have the opportunity to file an appeal of their new taxes. So I really did want to help the people who get a little blindsided and who are in the lower income, not just the elderly, but there are plenty of people, plenty of families who own homes, because frankly, sometimes mortgages are cheaper than rent these days. So it's important to me that they have some breathing room so that they don't lose their homes. So, but we also, at the same time, we have an obligation to also protect the other side of it, and it's meaning those residents who are overpaying taxes. So I stand by our decision to pass reassessment. It should have been done a long time ago, but we did it. I'm very proud of that. But this is just a little something that I came up with the tremendous help of Joe Joyce to offer a little cushion.
And Commissioner, you did state it when you were talking there before, but so much of the confusion with some of the public is they believe that their entire tax bill is being deferred. It's just the amount that the taxes that would be going up post-reassessment. So if it's $1,000 and your taxes go up $100, we're only talking about deferring the $100.
Well, there's a number of eligibility requirements, including an income eligibility, depending on if you're single or a dual homeowner and yada, yada. But the tax had to increase by 20%. So if you're
Whatever the deferment is.
Right. So if your county tax is normally $1,000 and it goes up $200 or more, and you meet these other eligibility requirements, then you are potentially a candidate for the program. I am, once we pass this, or maybe sooner. I think I should probably wait till it's passed. So I'll probably wait till after the November 30th hearing. That's when we're going to vote, right? Assuming that it's passed, I'm going to then reach out to the other two taxing bodies. That was my phone ringing. You would have yelled at me twice by now. So I'm going to reach out to the school districts and the municipalities and let them know, send them a copy of it, and say we can't mandate that you do this, but, please consider it. And if they want to talk to me or have a Zoom or anything, that's what I'm going to do. So I will be doing that before the end of the year. Any questions? Boris? Not right now. Of course not.
No other business from the commissioners. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion. I almost said adjourn.
Question, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.